Welcome, everyone, to our first AEG podcast, January 5th, 2022. I am delighted to welcome our first guest, who's been a longtime friend, Claudia Cattaneo. She has written a very interesting book that I've heard raving reviews about from our friend Steve Allen and many others, and I'm delighted to have her on our first show today. Here's a copy of the book for everyone to see, and you'll also see it on the creative part of this marketing. So again, Claudia, thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I'm very, very grateful. I know this is a bit of an offbeat thing to do, to write about a novel, but I still hope that your members will find it interesting and engaging, and that they will see themselves reflected in it, because it's a novel about a period of time that many of us lived through, and that I wanted to kind of capture and preserve for the future.
Well, I'm delighted to hear that. So thank you. Is there anything further you'd like to talk about in terms of what it's all about?
Well, it's a thriller, and it's largely about the campaign to shut down Alberta's oil sands industry. I covered this campaign in real time because I covered the industry for about 25 years, so I kind of had a front row seat to it. But I still felt that the story needed some real storytelling. And so what I did with the novel is that I picked a handful of characters, the type of people who would have been front and center in this campaign, including, an oil sands developer, a couple of environmentalists, a couple of Indigenous leaders, and of course a journalist, because I kind of wanted to kind of write the story from the perspective of somebody who digs and explores and wants to get to the bottom of it. So those are the fictional characters, and it covers about 15 years. So from the year 2000 to the year 2015. So it's the period from when the oil sands became a commercial industry, right to the period when there was an exodus of companies from the oil sands, initially because oil prices collapsed. But as we all know, a lot of it had to do with very hostile policies and lack of pipeline capacity and so on. So that's the span. The novel also explores a lot of themes like cancel culture, and the rise of social media and the impact that social media had in making this campaign look like it was a lot bigger than it really was. So it's not all serious stuff. So I tried to inject a little bit of humor in it. But it does have lots of boardroom fights and big egos and even romance. So it's very much a creative writing project.
Wow, well done, Claudia. That's excellent. Why do you believe that it's important to tell this story?
I believe, first of all, that we tend to not to tell enough Canadian stories. I'm a huge writer of both fiction and nonfiction. I think this is an important story that deserved to get attention. And for many of us, it's the story of our life and times. We all lived through this campaign. On the one hand, it was a big part of Canada meeting its climate change commitments, but it also destroyed a lot of lives. There was a lot of damage here, and in fact, the book is dedicated to the tens of thousands of people here who lost their jobs because of the pullback in oil sands activity. So that's kind of why I felt it was important to tell it, but also to tell it in a way that that was readable, that was engaging, and that was entertaining. So that's why I took that approach.
You probably answered some of my next question. Why did you take the creative approach then, instead of writing a nonfiction book about the campaign against the oil sands?
So I thought long and hard about it, but the creative writing approach gives you the freedom to imagine things, to kind of be a fly on the wall. I did a lot of nonfiction writing as a journalist, like used a lot of writing approaches, but journalism is supposed to be it's supposed to be fact-based and very sterile, at least the journalism that I was doing. And so you're not really allowed to jump to conclusions, to assume things. It's really about the facts and about giving people a voice. But through creative writing, you can imagine things. You can build characters. You can really dig into their motives, into their thoughts. That's a big part of creative writing. It's the fact that you have to kind of tell people what these characters are thinking. So that's why I took that approach. And actually, a further reason is the fact that it's very hard these days to talk about big ideas. It's we don't have the freedom that we used to have, and in expressing views, especially when it comes to very controversial topics, with which the oil sands / climate change certainly are. And creative writing has been used very successfully through history as a way to kind of talk about stuff, I guess through fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, well then I'm also curious, in this type of book that you've now written for us, are they based on real people or no?
Actually, a lot of people who have read the book have asked me, is there a real John Hess, or is there a real Chief Ann, or whatever? No, these are fictional characters. But I took care to make them as realistic as possible. So they are stereotypical. And I also kind of exaggerated, a lot of their traits. So the oil baron is perhaps a little bit too evil, and the journalist is perhaps a little bit too full of herself, and the environmentalist is a bit too nasty, and the indigenous man is perhaps a little bit too naive. So they are caricatures. But remember that it's a novel, it's a thriller, and I wanted to entertain, and one way to do that is to just kind of I guess build characters that are more dramatic, or more funny, or kind of more of everything than they would be in real life. So I wanted people to keep turning those pages and keep reading until the end.
Well, that has been successful. Again, thank you. How about the events in your book? Were they based on real events, or were they exaggerated?
A lot of the events are real. In fact, the novel revolves around a lot of these real events. So, for one thing, the title of the book, The Canada Project, was actually inspired by the fact that one of the big environmental organizations in the United States that were behind this campaign, they're part of the campaign, the Canada Project, it's also a little bit of a play on words, because certainly our oil sands pioneers, people like Eric Newell, they saw the oil sands in the early days as a Canada project, as a new industry that would be built to create wealth and generate new technologies for all of Canada. So that's where the title comes from. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the events, everything from the discovery of the Ladyfern field to the surge in investment in the oil sands to the campaign against the oil sands, to the truce that was reached between the environmental community and the big oil sands companies. A lot of this stuff is real. It's well documented. And actually, Steve Allen, in his report on the inquiry into the foreign funding of this campaign, he highlights a lot of these events. So I didn't actually read the report until I finished my book, but there's alignment between what he found and what my book is based on, which is that this was a campaign that was funded and orchestrated by people not Canadians, largely Americans, and that it did a lot of damage to our province and I think our country. Mm-hmm. So we kind of took different approaches to kind of tell the story, but the conclusions are kind of the same.
Mm-hmm. Sure sounds like it to me. Thank you, Claudia. A book like this would take a long time to write, I would assume. Am I correct in assuming that?
It did. It was the first thing that I wanted to do when I retired. So it took about 3 years, actually.
Wow.
It was it was my first creative writing project. I didn't realize just how much it takes out of you, but yeah, it took about 3 years, and between the writing of the manuscript and then many rounds of editing, and then I guess the publishing process, I had to learn a lot about it. But it's a very long, involved process. So that was very time consuming as well. So yeah, it's a big job. I don't recommend it as a career. I'm glad I stuck to journalism, but it's certainly been very rewarding.
Wow. Do you mind if we go a little deeper on the publishing part? Like, what did that entail exactly?
As I said, I had to learn a lot about book publishing, and discovered early on that there are very few opportunities in Canada to get a book published by a traditional publisher. There's only really one big one left, and the publishers that have survived tend to devote the vast majority of their resources to authors who are well established and the big names. Mm-hmm. And the only authors that they will take under their wing tend to be people from underrepresented groups, and I guess I didn't fit the bill, so I had to go with plan B, which was I picked a publisher, a hybrid publisher, Friesen Press. I wanted my publisher to be Canadian.
Hmm.
And Friesen Press has the added advantage that it's owned by its employees, and they did a really good job of distributing and printing the book and kind of making the book available to a large number of retailers pretty much around the world. But I didn't have the benefit of the type of quality control that you will get with a traditional publisher. So hence I had to do a lot of the self editing that was required to get the novel to a level that I could be proud of. And it's not perfect. It's not perfect. It's a first book, but I still hope that that a lot of people will find it worthwhile read.
Oh, it's definitely a worthwhile read for anybody around the world. Well done. Thank you. Why do you think other people should read it? I know why I need to read it. I'm going to, and you need to tell me why everyone else should.
I think it's a novel that kind of covers a very important period in the history of Alberta. In time, I hope that it will be regarded as a historical novel. I'm a huge fan, actually, of historical novels. I learn a lot from them. I hope that this will be the case for people who read it. Maybe years from now. I think that is a novel. It provides a lot of useful insights on why is it that Alberta is not the vibrant, energetic place that it was a decade ago. Um, um, we lost a lot because of this campaign. We're rebuilding, but it's been a struggle. I'm a mom. A lot of us have lost children who ended up moving to other places because there was no opportunity here. I know that trend is reversing itself, but still, a lot of the people who left are probably not going to come back. And I think that this book is particularly useful, I think, for younger generations who maybe don't understand why things were done the way that they were done. And I spent a lot of time actually trying to explain things in a way that will be educational. The other reason is the fact that it's a novel that talks a lot about the culture of the oil patch. I love the oil patch culture. Some of it was good, some of it was bad, but it was certainly, like always, extremely interesting and very unique to this part of the world. So those are some of the reasons why I hope that people here will read it, especially here. The book has been around now for about 2-3 months, and I've noticed from the book sales that actually the vast majority of books have been sold in the United States, which is great. But I'm really hopeful that as people find out about it, that they will read it. That they will that they will find out more about the story, what happened behind the scenes, and so on.
I agree with you. So important for our story here in Calgary, Alberta, and Canada. Is
That's
there
right.
a key message you want to leave us with for the Canada Project?
There's lots of key messages. They are kind of sprinkled throughout the book. A lot of them are my own reflections about things that were happening, but I'll leave you with a few words from page 360, actually, of the book. And those words are: climate change progress cannot come at the expense of our standard of living or our own energy security. We need wealth to invest in this energy transition. We need a strong economy and open minds, and we need to encourage innovators. this shouldn't be a polarizing debate. It should be a unifying debate.
Great message to leave us with, Claudia. I am extremely grateful. I know Steve is. Many of us are. Thank you so much for your service and for all of your years of journalism. You've been a great voice for all of us, and I'm very, very grateful for you and your family. Many blessings.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your interest. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. Everyone, check out the Canada Project. And thank you so much for joining us on our first AEG episode. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.